But I know this is for a status based on the fact of last hearing and the child being in Crawford County, and saw all the emails back and forth.
Ruth Fincher was here last time, and
Yeah,
Jennifer
I think
White was
Ruth's the
here.
one that's been dealing with it. Let me see if I can get her.
Continuation of the review hearing that we're conducting virtually over the internet using Zoom. The child is here with her current physical placement, Ms. Bianchi. Her guardian, Ms. Taylor, is here. Her guardian ad litem and attorney, Ms. Schrock, is here. The attorney for Ms. Taylor, Ms. Crane, is here, and the attorney for defects, Mr. Overman, is here. Mr. Overman's case manager is missing in action, Ms. Fincher. Hopefully she's joining us shortly.
Judge, if I may, I have talked to the SAG, J. Patterson down in Crawford County about the case or whatnot, and I was curious as to what they have done. I know Miss Thompson has been in touch with, and last time I think Miss Bianca said they were getting ready to come out, or they did come out. They had come out. Here's Miss Fincher right now. And it looks like the child is still with Miss Bianca. Is that correct?
And unless they've got some kind of
Do that.
Yeah, that's our
video feed, it
present.
looks like they're right next to each other.
We were in Florida last week, and Crawford County called me while I was down there to encourage me to leave her there. And then called me again yesterday morning to let me know to ask me where she was, if I had left her there. And I said, no, I did not.
That's strange the way the directors are working, because Miss Thompson said that that the state had told Crawford County that they needed to take custody of the child since she was there, and it's been more than 6 months. That doesn't sound like what you've been told. It sounds like what the SAG said, Judge, was that he understood the child was going to be taken back to Florida, or was in Florida now. So I don't know where that's going, but he concurred that venue is proper down there. So I did inform him that there was a chance that you would terminate the temporary custody today, depending on what Ms. Crane had to offer as far as that goes, if motion is filed or whatnot. And that puts in a situation whether how we deal with Crawford County. And you are a foster home, Miss Bianca, right? Is that correct?
I am a foster home. I am on hold right now.
Oh,
I have
okay.
not been closed, but I'm on hold as of last week.
Oh, meaning?
They're not placing right now. I
Oh.
just had a sibling group leave, and right now they're not placing with me.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because of
Well-
this case?
No, because of another issue where I refused to do something.
Okay.
So it's Crawford County's issue, right?
It's Crawford, yeah, Crawford County. Actually, it goes all the way up.
Oh, okay.
It has to do with another placement a couple months ago.
But you're on hold. You're a foster house, but you're on hold. Is that
I'm
right?
on hold, right? Which means they could open it up to, a teenager anytime.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good. That is so. But the SAG did agree, Judge, that venue was proper down there if the child was there, but he understood the child was back in Florida, and I told him I didn't think so.
Yeah.
But again, that is all I know of the update of what had happened since the last hearing.
Well,
I wouldn't know what to do. I'm sorry, sir.
no, go ahead.
I wouldn't know how to leave her there. I mean, she doesn't have a place to go to. Miss Taylor lives with a relative who has said the child's not allowed back into her home. So,
That's Crawford County and not us, believe me. Yeah, I understand.
okay.
Well, during or shortly after the last hearing, when somebody requested a copy of the guardianship order, we discovered, Ms. White's also in the waiting room, we discovered that as best I can reconstruct from the clerk listening to the tape from the 2019 hearing, is that I granted the permanent guardianship petition, but we went ahead and let her take her oath, and they went ahead and gave her letters, even though we told her that she had to go pass a drug test before I could officially grant the guardianship and give her the letters. But the clerk's office gave her letters, but I never signed an order appointing her the permanent guardian. Now, that could, you could construe that as, I can't find any record where we were ever notified that she passed the drug test. That doesn't mean, I feel fairly certain she probably did. And if so, if it makes a difference in how this case is handled, whether we would not protract back almost 3 years, an order appointing her the permanent guardian, which was the court's intention. But technically, right now, all she has is some interim guardianship. Does anybody think we need to do something about that? If she gets picked up by Crawford County, I think it's a moot point, really. But
and Judge, I think she had, if I remember right, this was a case that had been quite a while, and the issue we had that she was temporary custodian. I think the court granted that 3 or 4 years before the guardian, Mr. Mays, filed the guardianship petition.
yeah,
And so I guess technically she's still temporary custodian. I think it's not like she was in our care as such, and then this guardianship came up. I think she was actually the temporary custodian. The court asked, said that, that's not a permanency plan. It's either termination on the mother and father, or it's permanent guardianship. And of course, I think the mother and the father have been in the wind for ages. We don't know where they are.
at one time, the father communicated with the court, but then disappeared again. I don't know. That was 2 or 3 years ago, as I remember vaguely.
I understand they were out of state, I think, in Pennsylvania, if I remember right, or somewhere like that. But we haven't had any communication with
I don't
the
know
mother.
that she ever had temporary custody. There was a protective order that allowed them to be placed with the Taylors, but there are a whole bunch of orders, obviously, in this case.
I understand it was a temporary custody order granted because we tried to close the case after that, and I may be wrong, and the court says no, and that's why we had, it must have been, I think the child came into care in 14 or 15, if I remember right. So it was 3 or 4 years that we worked under, I thought, a temporary custodian order, but maybe not until.
When did the
Mr.
code
Mays-
change? Because prior to the 14 code, a custody order was only good for 2 years to a
Unless
third
it was
party and
granted to-
1 year to defects.
Yeah, unless the custodian order was granted till age 18 under what, 58, if I remember
That would have
right.
been a permanent relative custodian, but I don't remember doing that in this case. I don't think we did. Well,
To answer your question, Judge, I think it's kind of moot if Miss Taylor can't have take the child or have the child.
I found an order that makes reference to the Taylors having temporary custody, and this order was back. This was when you were trying to wiggle out of the case, excuse me.
Thank you.
That was in 17,
Right. I thought it was a while.
6 years ago. Goodness.
Mm-hmm.
How is school going, Sophia?
It's been doing good.
How
Going
have
good.
you been doing? Have you been doing good?
Yeah.
Behaving?
Yes. Well, I've been trying to get
Well-
better at that.
I'm trying to, can you turn like half? I want to see if your angel wings have sprouted. Have they off your shoulders? Are they there? You may have them covered by that long hair.
enough that I'm gonna let her go to a school dance Friday night as long as everything goes good the rest of this week.
Oh, goodness. What did they have, you gave her like a 9 o'clock curfew for the dance? Where she has to
Oh,
be-
I drop her off, I pick her up.
Okay, so 9 o'clock is long enough?
Mhm.
Mhm.
You get time for one dance and it's time to go home. What
I
time
didn't
do they
mean-
start? Is it a prom?
No, it's just a middle school dance that they
Oh.
have at the end of the year.
Okay. What
The
time
eighth
does it
graders
start?
will, you know. I have to look that up, 6:30.
Okay.
I mean, we just got back in town the other day, so I have to revisit all that time-wise.
What part of Florida did you go to?
Southwest Florida. I lived there for 30 years. Went down to Fort Myers Beach and saw all the damage that's still there after 6 months.
Oh, it'll probably be there 6 months from now too.
Mhm. Yeah, people living in their campers because their homes are destroyed or too damaged.
I'm sorry, Judge, I didn't mean to cut Miss Crane off because I know she is the one, we had email correspondence back and forth. And since she represents Miss Taylor, I shouldn't have spoken out loud and said, well, since the child can't go back to her, I guess that's Miss Crane's call. The
So
court's
yes, it's okay, Jack. Your Honor, our position is that the child will not be returning to Miss Taylor. I spoke with Miss Taylor at length yesterday. She understands that the difficulties that the court's having right now, just because of paperwork glitches, and there's an argument over jurisdiction and venue. And it is my position as Miss Taylor's attorney that, as I stated in my previous email, I believe that the UCCJEA is relevant to this action. I did find out yesterday that the child has, in fact, been in the state of Georgia for 6 months or longer, which I guess we would need to talk about when the custody action commenced. But I do believe that Georgia is the appropriate state for the child. And it is also my position that Crawford County is the appropriate venue because we no longer have any connection with this child. We are prepared, and I am prepared to file whatever motion the court needs, whether that is to terminate a temporary custody, terminate an interim guardianship, or both. And I know that this is not my client's issue. This is really more of a lawyer in court issue, but I'm going to have to agree, I think, with what I'm hearing Henry County say is we are not appropriate for providing services for the child. I know that there was some involvement years ago, and maybe it's a mess now, but the child is in Crawford County and she's been in this state for more than 6 months. Has Your Honor contacted a juvenile court judge in the county in Florida where the child used to reside to see if they are going to relinquish jurisdiction? I mean, I don't think they need to at this point, but is that something that
They've never claimed jurisdiction. They've played, she's a hot potato. They've never been willing to, they wouldn't even go out and check on the people on behalf of defects up here when we were just trying to make sure that when the Taylors volunteered to take these kids in to make sure that everything was okay. And I would be shocked if Florida has done anything that remotely would look like them exercising jurisdiction over this child or any of the other ones.
Yes, sir. And I don't think that they have. I don't think that they have given the appearance of jurisdiction. I just know that under the UCCJEA that we do, if there is any question about home state, we are authorized in this state to take emergency temporary jurisdiction, but it would require our court to contact their court just as a, kind of preliminary issue and just say, hey, by the way, do you want to relinquish any jurisdiction that you don't think you have? And then they say yes. And then there is no question that somebody here can have jurisdiction.
Ms. Taylor, did the corresponding, they don't call it defects in Florida, I can't remember, it's DCS.
Department of Children and Families.
Yeah.
Did you have any contact with them with respect to Sophia, asking for services, asking for help, asking for them to find a home for her or anything?
No, no, sir.
Okay. Well, I'm hesitant to do that because it seems like everybody is on board with it being Crawford County, not Henry County. And that might weaken the case for giving it to, for making Crawford County take it if I'm asking for permission from Florida to waive any jurisdictional claim that they have. I don't think there'd be a problem with them doing that since they haven't had any involvement. But
Yes, Your Honor. I just thought that it was one option. Is it possible for the court here in Henry County to contact the court in Crawford County, the judge, and bypass the department and ask about jurisdiction and venue?
I'm embarrassed. I don't know who the judge is. I thought it was Tom Matthews and whoever replaced female judge whose name Quintress Gilbert, who retired. I thought they were the two judges in Bibb, and I think Crawford is in the Bibb circuit, the Macon circuit, or whatever they call it.
It is, Judge. It's in that circuit, yes.
And unless they've appointed a separate judge, I thought that Judge Matthews and the other judge covered the whole circuit. I don't know him very well, but I know who he is. I've talked to him just briefly at conference from time to time, just saying, hey. I don't know whether that would help or whether that would be a burr in the side of defects, as if I were going over their head or doing something. I don't know.
That's just from my understanding of the way it's always, not always been, but the last few years, DFACS would coordinate with DFACS, the SAG would coordinate with the SAG, and the court would coordinate with the court down there. And I know
I've never coordinated with another judge in Georgia. I have talked to a couple of judges in Florida, and I've talked to one in New Jersey about
we do one in Nevada, Judge.
issues. Do what?
Didn't we do one in Nevada? Remember the lady that lived out in Nevada? I think we did one.
The couple
there.
that we terminated on?
Yes, I thought so.
I don't remember talking to a judge out there. I know we had defects involvement out there.
Yep.
And they testified at the trial. But anyway, I'm not saying I'll be glad to do it if I thought it was going to help. And I'm not prepared to say it will help. And I want to make sure it doesn't hurt. But
well, we are prepared to file the appropriate motions, Your Honor, to terminate whatever it is determined that my client has, and ask the court to terminate those, whatever it is.
Okay, I understand. And that's one reason why I wanted Ms. Taylor to have an attorney, is to see what her options were about that. Well, does anyone dispute what I said, that I'd been able to reconstruct about the record from 2019, that the order didn't get presented, and the proof of the drug screen, she was supposed to go with DFACS over to their office after the hearing and get drug screened. Does anybody know if that happened? Ms. Taylor, you?
Yes. Yes, sir, I did. Miss Cheryl brought me over to get it done right
Bill
after.
Blackman?
No, Miss Bianchi.
Oh. No. Well, this was in 2019?
Yes.
2015.
Oh,
Yes.
I didn't realize y'all knew each other back then. I thought.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Did you get a result back?
No, sir.
I wonder who the
See if I can find them in the
what you want to bet? Whoever was the case manager is not there anymore. Want to take a bet?
Sure.
Ruth or Jen, do you know, have y'all got anything in the record showing a drug screen was done?
I'm trying to look at it now and see what's on.
If you would look, that'd be good. Thank you.
If somebody from DFAX was there, I can't read this handwriting. It looks like something with a G. Looks like Gay, G-A-Y. But I don't remember anybody with that last name. I don't see a DFAX. The hearing before, there was nobody listed as a DFAX worker. Of all the,
So far, it looks like I found results for the mother, and maybe somebody else. I'm still looking for Ms. Taylor.
Gore. There was a guy named Gore.
Daryl Gore.
I can't.
You remember
I can't
Daryl,
read
Judge.
that. It looks like gay, but anyway, was to go over there and have a hair follicle. And this was on September 30th, 2019.
Even if that had been done, Judge, I think without the order being signed and presented and signed, Mr. Mays, I know is no longer working doing this. I wish he was, we could ask him.
Well, I mean, he obviously didn't submit the order because I don't have it. But that doesn't mean we can't reconstruct it if it's, because it would be a classic nunc pro tunc, and it was a scrivener's error that was the reason for failing to submit the order or to have the order. I mean, it's on me. Ultimately, I didn't enter an order. But I don't know if it does any good to do that. I don't know. I mean, y'all think about that. And of course, you know, reason I don't know that it does us any good based on what you're trying to accomplish is I do think the court has continuing jurisdiction for purposes of terminating a guardianship and appointing a successor guardian. But we don't have a successor guardian to appoint because Ms. Bianchi doesn't want the guardianship without DFAX's involvement because of the availability of services.
It appears she and the child need that, Judge.
I'm sorry?
It appears she and the child need that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
And so I know I don't know who, if I talked to somebody at our probate court or somebody I knew from another county, that sometimes when people file to terminate, they want them to find a replacement guardian before they're willing to let one guardian be terminated, so they don't leave them dependent. But unless somebody has some legal authority that says I can appoint DFAX as the replacement guardian, now that would be creative, and that would be, I'm sure Ms. Thompson would
Yes.
send us some early Halloween candy, hopefully not laced with strychnine.
You know, from the department standpoint, Judge, I think we know where it needs to go. The question is how to get it there. And the fact that Crawford County has a family support case, they have an open case, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
I know Ms. Bianca said they had come out, but it sounds like the Crawford County is, I'm not saying trying to get out of anything, but certainly venue, as Ms. Crane said, is proper there. The child is dependent without Ms. Taylor or a mom or anybody else. So, but it would certainly be, I think, better for Crawford County to institute that if the quote unquote permanent guardian / temporary custodian, however we want to cite it, as Ms. Crane said, is terminated, then automatically I think the child becomes dependent again, and the venue is proper in Crawford County, and that's where it should be heard, instead of going through a transfer type where we end up getting the child with no contact whatsoever and then having to try to transfer to the appropriate venue. That to me seems like a lot of work where we know where it needs to end up. Just my opinion.
All right.
For background, sir, I'm sort of a kinship for her. I've known her since she was 6. Miss Taylor and I share a grandson,
Okay,
her son and my daughter.
okay.
And that's why we know each other from so far back. And when she came up for court, I would take her up there, drive up for her
Okay.
with her.
I think we did a couple of hearings where we just had them on the phone so they didn't have to drive up here. Didn't we, Miss Taylor? Didn't we talk to you on the phone sometimes?
No, sir. I don't recall any phone call meetings. How we've had to go up every time.
Yeah. Maybe we talked about it. And you were so excited about coming up here that you said, no, thank you. Oh, well. Well, Ms. Crane, you go ahead and do what you need to do, and we'll set it down for a hearing. But in the meantime, Mr. Overman, you've led me to believe that you had powers extraordinaire in the child welfare community, and I'm beginning to question that based on how you haven't gotten the mountain to move yet.
Mountain has shifted, Judge. It just hadn't moved far enough down to Crawford County, I don't
Well,
think.
it's awfully odd that you say that they're going to do it, and then they're telling people the kids in Florida.
I don't disagree that there's a disconnect between the state, actually not just Henry County. We don't have the authority to tell DFACS in Henry County, doesn't have the authority to tell DFACS in Crawford County, you got to take this child. However, I understand the reason I felt more comfortable about it, evidently, because the state had basically told Crawford County, I understand, that venue was proper there and they needed to go ahead and take control of this case.
Well, maybe
And
the state
obviously-
is telling them what they want to hear and telling you what you want to hear, and it's not the same story.
If it wasn't for Dana Carroll, I wouldn't disagree with you, but she's very straightforward. She's usually very, and Ms. Thompson said that she talked to her as well, and she said, yes, that Crawford County should have this case. How we get it there is another issue, I guess. I didn't mean to cut Alyssa out either. We had talked earlier about it. I don't know if she had any thoughts on it.
No, I mean, I agree with what has been said previously, that, I think that hopefully Crawford County will, accept the case and take action. I agree with what's been said, that seems to be the appropriate place since the child has been there and has been living there for as long as she has, going to school there, and hopefully can maintain her placement there. That would be the ideal scenario if we could get Crawford County to take action.
One possible thing that just crossed my mind, and I don't know, y'all need to look at it further, is if Ms. Crane follows through and files to terminate the legal relationship, whatever it is, temporary custody, interim guardian, permanent guardian, that the court grant it and find the child is without a parent or guardian, and child is located in Crawford County, and transfer the case for venue to Crawford County for further proceedings. I don't, it may just sit.
Is there anyone who could send me a copy of the order, Your Honor? There was mention of an order that had granted maybe a temporary custody a long time ago at some point.
Yeah, we'll get, when we get through, I'll get Robin to take the files like 2 inches thick. And I could not find, I found a reference to them having temporary custody, but I couldn't find the actual order. Just like the other day, they asked for the order for the guardianship. I said, well, we'll get it to you. Then we got to look at it. It's not in there, but there is an order of interim guardianship. And based on Mr. Overman, we think there's an order somewhere that after that long time protective order finally may have given way to temporary custody. We'll send you what we have, okay? And you're welcome to see and copy anything else after you see those two.
Okay.
Okay. And I'll send you a form that I dug out. Actually, I didn't dig it. I think I got it from the probate court. A form that they use for resigning or withdrawing as guardian, and you're probably gonna need to make some adjustments to it, but at least it'll give you a template to go by. I'll just get
Shut it off.
Robin to scan that and send it to you in an email.
I think I can probably get one from the probate council. I have their forms on my computer.
Yeah, but I'm not sure they have a uniform form for
Oh, okay.
terminating. That's why.
Okay.
That's why I think I had to get it from them, but you might look, and if they have one, by all means use it, but I looked there and I don't remember finding one, which is, this has been a couple of months ago, so. Yeah, this is styled in Henry County, so I think I must have got it from them. Okay. Anything else?
Not
Ms.
from the
Taylor, is
department.
everything else okay with you and the other children?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Sophia, we need to see pictures from the dance.
Okay. Well, also, my friend said that we're going to go to a photo booth.
Okay.
Send them to your lawyer, Ms. Schrock, and she'll share them with us. Okay.
Okay.
Your Honor, I did find Form 65, which is a petition for termination of guardianship / conservatorship and restoration of rights.
Mhm.
That
Okay.
might work too, but if you all want to send me
Okay.
yours, I'll just put something together.
Yeah, that's fine.
Ms. Fincher, do you need anything else from us right now, or the department, the court? No.
Have you heard from Crawford County, Ms. Fincher?
Not at all, and I've tried reaching out.
And you've what?
I tried reaching out and I didn't get a return phone call.
They're in hiding.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not going to suppose that, but if Ms. Crane filed the appropriate motion and no objection, the court would consider terminating this, therefore making the child, I guess, from that standpoint, would be a dependent child, and Crawford County could proceed on. Since I guess technically right now the child, would we say the child is dependent right now, Judge?
Well, you told me that the guardian cannot take care of the child because of her behaviors, and her current living arrangement prohibits her being in the household. So she can't provide the necessary support and sustenance as a guardian for the child. So the child is without a parent or guardian. So that's an element of dependency.
And the termination would take care of that as far as back. And you're right about the successor guardian. I have a case similar to that where they're asking the present guardian to nominate a successor guardian.
Yeah.
And not in this case, of course. All right. Well, thank you, Judge.
And she doesn't have, well, we can put on, when we hear that case, she can put on that she's made efforts to locate a replacement and she can't find one that is willing to serve in that legal capacity. She's de facto placed her with somebody who can take good care of her, but that person's not willing to serve as guardian.
What's the difference between guardian and kinship placement?
Well, a kinship placement doesn't have any legal rights to authorize medical care, to authorize release of medical records,
Okay.
to enroll them in school. Now Georgia has a provision where a parent can assign those rights temporarily to a family member or third party for up to a year. And it's something that looks sort of like a power of attorney, but that's still doesn't give them a legal right, a quasi-parental right. So a guardianship would be preferenced over you're considering yourself currently as a kinship placement.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
You have no right. You're to be applauded for being creative and getting her enrolled in school and all that stuff. But we have people that get in that boat. Back when the neighboring school system was lost its accreditation, people were sending their kids over in droves into our county, saying they were living with Aunt Susie so they could go to our schools. And they started prosecuting the people for violating the attendance requirement. Anyway, that's
the school sent me to the courts with a piece of paper that said I was taking kinship in order to get her into school. And that's how I did that.
yeah. So if somebody came to me wanting that, I'd say, I don't know what you're talking about. There is no such thing that I know of in Georgia.
Yeah.
Now, what they've done here in this school system is if you were in the shoes of the child had been put in your home, you come and file an action wanting the child declared dependent and you want custody of the child, then the school system will accept that as evidence that you're trying to get a legal relationship, and they'll let the kid on an interim basis go ahead and enroll in school, provided they follow through with that legal process.
Okay.
Some counties are not that strict though, and they may accept other forms of proof or whatever.
Yeah, like immunizations. I got her immunizations from the health department while I was down there last week in Florida. I went to the health department and they called Miss Taylor and gave her permission for me to pick it out.
Good. That's good.
Judge, can I ask Miss, I know we talked about it earlier, Miss Bianca, are you pretty sure, I know there's no guarantee that Crawford County DFACS will let her stay there if that be the case?
Well, I specifically asked them, are you closing my home? And they said, no. Right now, it's just, we're not going to place in your home. But she's already in my home. And they waited until the siblings that I'd had for 3.5 years had left before they put a hold on. So it wasn't an immediate thing.
You don't think this is in an effort to discourage you from pursuing this because of the threat of taking her and placing her somewhere else?
Anything could be. A couple of months ago, I had a sibling set where one of them jumped on top of one of my dogs and got scratched enough to need stitches, and they told me to get rid of the dog. And I refused to. So that it all stemmed from that.
Okay.
So the dog didn't bite or whatever, but the child jumped on top of this very large dog.
Well, we need a status report, Mr. Overman, and you're the one who has all the connections, so we need to know. I'm going to put it back down for a review in 2 weeks. That will give Ms. Crane some time to work on her side. I'm not saying you got to get it done that quickly. But I do want an answer from these people. Does Sophia receive special education services in school?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you in Florida receive special ed services?
No, sir.
Behavior accommodations or anything like that?
No, sir.
Okay.
She was virtual for, I think, 3 years after COVID, between COVID and everything. And then when she went back to school, yes, they had behavior issues with her to the point she got kicked out and back to virtual.
Okay.
She got into some fights with some special needs children.
So they did not assess her for her own possible special needs and trying to fit her back in lifetime school. Okay.
And here she doesn't get into physical fights. She gets into verbal fights. She says she's working hard on that.
Yeah.
At school or at your house or both?
Both.
Yeah.
We're working on it. Doesn't do her much good.
Surely you got those big dogs. You must have some extra muzzles laying around that you can just tighten up a little bit.
I handle it pretty well myself, don't I? Yeah.
And I'm expecting a consent order, Mr. Overman, when you come back.
Order with Ms. Crane, I don't have a problem with that. With the
With
parties
everybody,
here.
everybody that's involved and will be involved and should be involved.
That's not a problem. What time are we looking at on the 25th, Your Honor? I have a special set with Judge Ott
Okay, hold on a
at
second.
10 a.m. on the 25th.
This is at 2:30.
2:30 in the afternoon.
I think that should be fine.
If not, we'll miss you.
Well, I'll file everything I need to file before then, but I'll let Judge Ott know. I think we should be fine.
You tell him that the oldest judge takes priority.
I'll let him know.
He's a newbie. He's only been on the bench maybe 3 or 4 years. How long, Mr. Overman?
Here, Judge.
Sir?
4 years.
4? Has it been that long?
Yes, it has.
April 25th at 2:30 p.m. And we'll do it on Zoom, 25th.
You have a good
And,
day.
and one other question, Judge. If Crawford County determines that the child is dependent and takes custody of the child, that's fine with the court,
Yes,
right?
sure.
I just want to make sure, because that question I think will be asked.
Yes.
Sure, just ask.
Your phone, Jack.
And,
It's my watch. It's
Oh,
my watch. I
and
hit the button
Sophia's
on it.
number 1038.